Next story shows what officials are doing to protect you from avian flu.
H5N1, a nasty little virus commonly referred to as bird flu. Because this virus does not commonly infect humans, there is little or no immune protection against it. Health officials indicate that if H5N1 were to gain the capacity to spread easily from person to person, an influenza pandemic or worldwide outbreak could occur. The Department is working with other state and federal agencies to perform surveillance for the early detection of H5N1 avian influenza in wild migratory birds and devise strategies on how to respond in the event it is detected in Arizona.
Testing for avian influenza right now is a nationwide effort. Every state in the United States has been granted a designated amount of money from USDA APHIS Wildlife Services. The state of Arizona has been granted $50,000.
Waterfowl and Sandhill Crane hunters experienced this monitoring at several check stations this year, including Cibola National Wildlife Refuge, Havasu National Wildlife Refuge, and here at the Wilcox Playa Wildlife Area.
There is no avian influenza on the continent, on North America to date, that anybody has tested, and even though all the extensive testing that all the states in the Pacific Flyway have done so far.
We are supposed to collect 500 samples, and of these 500 samples, 200 of them need to be from a single species of bird. We are hoping to collect our 200 samples right here at the Sandhill Crane check station.
At final count, we actually collected samples from 516 birds, including all 7 target species, as well as from numerous other waterfowl species. Target species included northern shoveler, northern pintail, American widgeon, American green-winged teal, lesser sandhill crane, lesser snow goose, and mallard. There are actually many different types of bird flu common throughout the world, but the strain of concern is the Asian strain of highly pathogenic H5N1 avian influenza.
So the strain that everyone is concerned about right now is H5N1 highly pathogenic Asian strain.
To date, the H5N1 avian influenza has not been detected in the United States or anywhere else in the Western Hemisphere.
But nevertheless, if there was to be a bird that could bring avian influenza into this, Sandhill Crane's a good candidate, because Sandhill Cranes, these birds migrate all the way from Siberia, some of them Alaska, some of them north and central Canada. They all amalgamate together in the Platte River Valley, and they do a huge migration down through the Pacific Flyway, across the Rocky Mountains. And we winter about 30,000 Sandhill Cranes here in the Sulphur Springs Valley in Arizona.
Fortunately, the virus does not easily infect people and rarely spreads from human to human. Human cases of this type of avian influenza have occurred in countries where people have daily close contact with domestic poultry and poultry excrement. The spread of avian influenza viruses from one ill person to another has been reported very rarely, and transmission has not been observed to continue beyond one person.
Was this your bird?
At the Sandhill Crane check station, the first thing we do when a bird is brought in is to collect a weight on the bird, which is recorded in kilograms. Most of these birds, if they are non-gutted or non-breasted, tend to weigh in around 3 kilograms to 3.4 kilograms. If they've already been gutted out, obviously they weigh less, and we'll make note of that in the record sheets. After we obtain a weight, we put the bird down with its wing line against a wing measuring board, and we measure the length of the wing from what we term the wrist to the tip of the longest feather, the longest primary feather. This is called a wing chord measurement. After that, we take 2 measurements on the bird's beak from the anterior opening of the nares, 71, to the tip of the bill, and then from 82. The posterior opening of the nares to the tip of the bill, and those measurements are done in millimeters. And the final measurement that we take is the length of the tarsus, 216, And the purpose of these measurements is to help distinguish between the different species of sandhill crane, that being the greater and the lesser sandhill crane. In addition to looking at the measurements in these birds, we are also collecting samples for avian influenza testing. And this is a very simple process. We have a long sterile Q-tip applicator which is inserted into the cloaca of the bird and rubbed around the inside of the mucosal lining several times, and from there it is put into a tube which has sample media, and it's a broth-based viral transport media, and this media has to be kept refrigerated once the samples have been collected. These samples are then sent overnight express mail to a cooperating National Animal Health Laboratory Network lab. We have one of these labs in the state of Arizona, which is the Tucson Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory.
Symptoms of avian influenza in humans have ranged from typical human flu-like symptoms, fever, cough, sore throat and muscle aches, to eye infections, pneumonia, and severe respiratory diseases. Hunters and others who handle birds should continue to follow reasonable safety recommendations for this virus and other diseases that affect wildlife, including: don't harvest or handle birds that are obviously sick, abnormally tame, or found dead. Wear rubber gloves when cleaning game or bird feeders. Do not eat, drink, or smoke when cleaning game or bird feeders. Wash hands carefully with soap and water or alcohol wipes immediately after handling game. Then, disinfect tools and work surfaces with a 10% chlorine bleach solution. Cook birds thoroughly to kill disease organisms and parasites.
To this date, we have never detected any H5N1 highly pathogenic Asian strain avian influenza in the United States.
For more information on anything you've seen on our show, go to our website, azgfd.gov.